In this video, we're going to be replacing the radiator in this 2008 Acura MDX. So our petcock is down here. We're going to have to spin this to drain our radiator. Because of its location in here, it's a little hard. We're just going to use a angled pair of needle nose to get that to spin for us. This is the point where you're going to want to have a drain pan down. You're going to be dropping about a gallon of fluid out. So have some spill protection, drain pan, whatever you need to collect the old antifreeze. All right, at this point, go ahead and let it drain. All right, so now that we're done draining, we're going to close up our petcock here. And we're just going to turn that clockwise. And we're going to be removing the radiator, so no need to get this super tight, just tight enough to stop whatever's left in there from dripping out. All right, so we're going to take off this top plastic cover to start removing our bumper. To do that, we have to start taking out these plastic clips. So we're going to use a couple of different tools here, a couple of different panel clip tools. I'm just going to raise the center portion of these. Now we can lift our top panel off here. We have two 10mm bolts, one on each side of our bumper slash grill here. I'm going to take those out now. All right, so we have a couple of push clips across the bottom. Your vehicle may have some bolts or more push clips. Ours is missing a whole bunch of stuff, so we're just going to remove what we have. But take a look on the bottom here, all the way across your bumper, and just remove whatever's holding it to the vehicle. Again, everywhere you see a hole down on the bottom side here, there is supposed to be something. We're just skipping these because our car didn't come with them. The goal on this side is to remove it from your splash shield and the vehicle support here. Once you get these done here, you can go ahead and do the same thing on the other side. And then you can go ahead and get the three in the middle. All right, so on the fender side here, you're going to have a Phillips screw here. On our bumper, it just seems to be worn away by the tire. This must have been loose at some point. So you have a Phillips screw here. And if you follow this straight up, you'll see a hole right here. If you peel back your fender liner or go in through the liner, we'll peel this back so you can see it a little bit better. There's a Phillips screw right in there. Once you have these two addressed, go ahead and do the same thing on the other side. All right, so now that you've taken your screw out, or your two screws out on the side of your bumper, there's only a few clips underneath here, all the way up, holding your bumper in place. What you want to do is, if you can, get your hand in between the fender liner and the bumper, and then just pull outward. Try not to just pull like we're pulling here. Try to get in as close as you can to that. You don't want to crease the bumper. Just want to try and pull out evenly. All right. If you're doing this by yourself, right now is a great time to stop and do the same thing on the other side. Get it to about your headlight area. And then once you get both sides free, we'll attack it from the middle. So at this point, this grill is a separate piece from the bumper. It's held in with some clips. So we're not going to use this as support. We're going to hold it from here. We'll keep one hand on this side. I'm going to grab the bumper over on this side wherever you can. Separate it from the clips underneath the headlight. Now what you're going to have is fog lights down below. You're going to have a plug to each of one of those fog lights. So we're not going to take this straight off and try and walk away. We're going to remove it slowly. I'm going to pull it out just enough to get in behind there. And we're going to disconnect our fog light harnesses. All right, so press in on the clip, pull up. And a little tip, if you're doing this by yourself and you're very careful, what you can do, if you can't get the clips to come out easy, is just turn and remove your bulb. And make sure you sit that bulb somewhere where it's safe for a few minutes. What I do recommend is once you have your bumper off, go ahead and take your lights and immediately put the bulbs right back into the fog lights so that way you're not doing any damage. This is just to help you get the bumper off because it's so big and awkward, a little bit quicker. Once this side fog lights is done, we're just going to rest the bumper back into the clips. Maybe push in a little bit. That'll hold this side while we work on the other side. All right, now that you've got your fog lights disconnected, what you can do is grab your bumper, pull it straight back, and we can set that aside. So we're aiming for this bracket here. Just want to give you two options. You can use an 8mm wrench in here without taking your headlights out. It might take you a little while. You don't have a lot of room to swing. On the other side, this is what it looks like if you take the headlight out. So much easier access here, but you have two options. All right, so we're going to remove our headlight. There's a bolt in here on this metal bracket. If you follow it back and down, there's a 10mm bolt in there. So if we follow this bracket again down here, the bolt that we want to take out is the one facing up. But for ease of access and for this video, we'll take out these two bolts here, which means this metal bracket is going to come out with the headlight. All right, up top we have another 10mm here and a push clip. We'll take care of the push clip first. And now our 10mm. After this, your headlight will be free. You can disconnect your electrical connections now if you can reach them, or what you can do is pull your headlights slightly forward and disconnect them then. That's what we'll do. All right, so that's about as far as we can get with everything still connected, which gives us a little room to work in here. So now we'll go ahead and disconnect our electrical connections. All right, so we have one more clip up top. Push part is on the bottom. We can set that aside, but you notice we have one cable here. I'm assuming this is a ground cable. I would call it a strap. We'll go ahead and take that strap off now. $10mm socket. All right, and lastly, now on the bottom, when you flip it over, you have one more clip here. Now that we've got our headlight removed, we can go ahead and move to the other side, do the same thing here. What we're gonna do is take out this bolt up top. It's gonna be a 10mm. All right, so you can see we've got a little bit more play here. We'll remove these two, also 10s. All right, we have one more down the bottom. Again, a 10. That's just a nut. So now we can take this bracket. We can lean it off to the side, or pivot it all the way to the side like this. You should be able to just go ahead and take it right out. We have to take these top two pins out first. That's an 8mm socket. All right, so we can take these out, just rotate them forward, pull up. We can put these aside. Do that on both sides. All right, so we got to take out these top two brackets, one on each side. On our vehicle, somebody may have replaced this one, or it might be factory, but this side is a 10. And this side is an 8. All right, so now we can take these brackets or isolators off. All right, so if you pull back your radiator, you can see a connector here for your fan assembly. Should have one on both sides. We're going to work on this one first. We're going to disconnect the vehicle side electrical. The blue side is going to stay on the fan shroud. All right, so we're coming in from this, pulling the radiator forward, coming in from the side with a long, small flathead screwdriver. We're just going to push that tab on the connector in, try and pull it downwards, separate that plug. All right, now that you have your plug separated, typically this little bracket here is where your plug will be clipped into. Ours is actually already out, so you may have to pry the clip out of this as well. All right, so we have to take the overflow hose off of our radiator cap area. I'm just going to pop it right out of these clips. There's one. There's another clip here down below on our fan shroud, and just pull that right up. And then we have to remove this hose. Pull that right off. Now this assembly here, we can just take it and move it out of our way. All right, so we have two bolts here. They're going to be 10mm bolts. We'll take these out. All right, now our fan shroud is free of the radiator. On our driver's side fan assembly, we still have another electrical connection here I'm going to need to address. We're going to disconnect the vehicle side. Okay. And we have two more 10mm bolts on our driver's side fan assembly. All right, so now what we need to do is remove our upper radiator hose. You can use a flathead here or an 8mm on this hose clamp. doesn't actually look factory, so yours might be slightly different. At this point, we can try and rotate off our hose. Sometimes you just have to come in at the end and break that seal open. Now our fan assembly here is able to move, and we now have access to our transmission lines. All right, so we're going to remove our bottom radiator hose clip. All right, while we're here with the 8mm, we're going to keep moving along. We're going to hit the transmission line. And if we can get to it, which I don't think we can from this angle, the other transmission line. All right, so we have this electrical connection here. Just gonna squeeze that and remove the connection. All right, now we can start pulling lines off. All right, so we're gonna remove the lower radiator hose. All right, we're gonna try and get our transmission lines off here. We're just going to use a pair of panel tool pliers. See if we can work that hose off. The other alternative is getting underneath it. There's a little bit of room there to get your hand in. I think we should be able to slowly work that hose right out. Also, a side note on this vehicle. Someone's been in here previously. We do have a few brackets that aren't attached to anything. So it looks like this one should be going here. And the other ones have a couple of bolts in there that are missing. So if you need to remove those to have this much access, go ahead and do that. So we're going to move this hose clamp. So our hose clamp actually fell apart here, so we'll replace that. I'm just going to move this up and out of the way. So now we're going to go ahead and remove our radiator. We're just going to pull our radiator back, pull it clear here. Just remember to watch out for these lines we're hung up on down the bottom. All right, so we're going to install our radiator. I'm going to go in straight from the front. At this point, you just want to hold on to your radiator. You might have a little bit of luck if you pull your condenser forward. Okay. Now the goal is to get your two matching pins on the bottom of the radiator to sit in the isolators at the bottom. Once you've located those pins in the isolators, if you did move your condenser, go ahead and put them back into place now. I think we should be okay. All right, so now we can reconnect our transmission lines. What we're actually going to do here is just make sure this is up far enough away. All right. We'll come back and tighten all these together. Next transmission line. Just move this hose clamp out of the way. Okay, now our lower radiator hose. What I'm going to try and do here is just sit the hose on and then move that clamp backwards up the hose, get it out of the way. Okay, now we can press our lower radiator hose a little bit more into position. And bring this slightly back down. We'll come back and tighten all these lines. Alright, so now we're just going to line up our hose clamp, tighten it back down. And if you notice, we're doing this job from the top, so when we align our hose clamps, we make them easy to access from the top. All right, now we can plug in our electrical connection down the bottom. All right, so we can reinstall our fans now. We're going to do almost the same thing we did to get our radiator in. Just pull the radiator forward a little, slide our fans into place. Again, taking care not to damage the fins on your radiator. And this one, because of this groove here, is our driver's side. We'll go underneath our upper radiator hose. We can reinstall our bolts. Tighten these up. All right, so now we can plug in our fan, our electrical connection for our fan. So on the passenger side fan assembly, if you look down the bottom, there's supposed to be 2 bolts on the bottom of your radiator that these either slide into or that you put in after the fact to tighten this in to lock the bottom of your fan assembly in place. Our vehicle doesn't have it, unfortunately, and they are not able to be put in. So we're going to slide this down into position and just fasten it by the 2 bolts on the top. That's where your bolts would be. All right, so what we can do now is put our top bolts back in place. While we're here, we'll go ahead and connect our electrical connection.
Also, we can take our overflow tube, reroute that. This collar here goes right into that clip. What we're going to do is plug it back in here. Let that find its natural spot and clip this back in. All right, now we can put our upper radiator hose back into position. Bring our hose clamp back up. All right, now we can push our radiator back into position, make sure our condenser is in the right place, and we'll put our isolator brackets on top. All right, so now we can put our condenser isolators back in. We can now install our bracket for our oil cooler here. I'm going to put the bottom in first and then put the nut on that stud to hold it in place. We've found from trial and error that if you turn it sideways, we can get it in behind the condenser. Spin it up. All right, we're not going to tighten that all the way down. We're just going to hold the bottom in place. All right, these two bolts are going to go in here. So we'll just pull the oil cooler slightly forward and up. All right, now we're going to put our top bolt in as well. Now we can come back, just tighten these all down. All right, so now we can take our headlight and put it in the vehicle. We're only going to put it about this far. First thing we're going to do is start connecting our electrical. This one's going to go here. All right, now what we can do is take our strap, kind of guide that up. We don't want that to be underneath as we start to lower this or raise this into position. Just be easier to find. All right, now we can start to guide our headlight into position. Go ahead and put our strap on. All right, so we can put our top clip on. And our 10mm bolt here. We're going to now put our 10mm bolt in on the side. Now do the same process for the other side. So now We can bring in our bumper, plug in our fog lights. Now we can raise our bumper into place. Now our bumper probably won't seat in here. We do have a crack, so it may not stay in right here. All right, we can put our Phillips screw back in here to hold in the corner of our bumper. All right, so now we can put our fender liner in place, put our clips back in. Now you can go ahead and do the same all the way across your bumper to the other side. We have a 10mm bolt here, one on the other side. All right, now we can reinstall our upper trim piece. And reinstall some clips. All right, so now we can get back to our radiator cap and we can refill our radiator and our antifreeze. At this point, you want to fill your antifreeze all the way up to the top, run the vehicle for a little while, get it to operating temperature, turn your heat AC on, shut it down, let the vehicle cool down, make sure your radiator cap is cool to the touch, open it back up, and refill if needed. All right, we're all set with our radiator. The last thing you want to do, because we did work on our radiator and transmission lines, is check your transmission fluid. If you are down any, make sure you add to the fill line. You want to run the vehicle, run through the gears in your transmission, let it cool down, check your transmission fluid again, add any if needed.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.